Well, I hope you can see me and you can see the word file as well. In case you face any problem, just unmute yourself and let me know. Well, okay, we'll go ahead now. And today's topic that we are going to start is Third Battle of Panipat. This is one of the important event in the Maratha history, and we'll be discussing about what were the circumstances that led to this Third Battle of Panipat. We will be discussing about the battle, and at the same then lastly we will be discussing about the what were the consequences. This third battle of Panipat is one of the most hotly contested battle of 18th century, and it was fought on 14 January 1761. On the one side there was Ahmad Shah Abdali, the ruler of Afghanistan, and on the other side there were Marathas led by Bhausaheb Peshwa, the cousin of Peshwa Nana Sahab. Well, I hope well. In the last class, if you remember, in the last two classes we have remember about the northern expansion of Marathas under the Bajirao Peshwa, and this battle has taken place during the regime of Balaji Bajirao, that is Bajirao's son, who is also known as Nana Sahib Peshwa. Well, and what were the causes and all we'll be discussing that shortly. But before we go ahead, I just want you to take a look at this map. Is this map visible to you? And in this map I have shown certain places which will be coming quite often, which will be referred to quite often during our discussion on Battle of Panipat. See, this is Delhi, this is old Delhi, and near to that New Delhi, and there is around 296 kilometer away towards north, towards Himalayan ranges, towards a bit north, not exactly straight north, toward north and little bit easterly direction on the foothill of the Himalayas. There is a place called Shukratal. So this Shukratal will be also referred to. So I just want you to remember in your mind that to the northern side, little bit towards east, on the foothill of the Himalayas, around 296-kilometer distance, there is a place called Shukratal. At the same time, if you go from Delhi towards north, little bit towards west, not very west, little bit towards west, there is a place called Kunjapura Fort. So this Kunjapura Fort will also be referred to, and in between these two, somewhere near to Kunjapura, there is a place called Panipat, where the important battlefield where the destiny who will be ruling over Delhi is often decided, and where this third battle of Panipat was also fought. So Shukratar to Delhi is 296 kilometer. Shukratar, Kunjapura to Delhi. Kunjapura is another important place that I will be referring to during our lecture. That is 131 kilometer on the northerly direction, and Delhi to Panipat is 90 kilometer. So let us go and try to understand the circumstances that led to this third battle of Panipat. Marathas, by their northerly expansion, they got entangled into the politics of Delhi. Bajirao have started this northerly expansion, and that continued by his son. Bajirao, if you remember, he died at a very young age of 40, comparatively young age at 40, in 1740. And in 1740, his son, Balaji Bajirao, who is also known as Nana Sahib, he was only 19 and a half year old, not even 20. He becomes Peshwa, but he was a quite capable person, and under him also we have seen that the Marathas, they continue to expand in the northerly direction. They became more and more entangled in the politics of Mughal court. So this Maratha entanglement in the north has brought them face to face with another very capable person of his time, that is Ahmad Shah Abdali. He was a ruler of Afghanistan, and he served under Nadir Shah. Nadir Shah was one of the most capable commander of Central Asia. He invaded India in 1739, and Ahmad Shah Abdali, he served under him when this ruler of Persia, Nadir Shah, dies. His empire, it disintegrates, and Ahmad Shah Abdali, he takes an advantage of the situation, and he becomes ruler of Afghanistan. So under Nadir Shah, he was trained to fight war at the different places, India to Central Asia. He was expert in crossing rivers, and he was a very, very capable general. And Afghanistan is relatively barren land, And as Nadir Shah has invaded India and conquered significant portion, Ahmad Shah Abdali had always desired that the area which is very close to Afghanistan, that is Punjab of India, Punjab of India. When I am speaking about India, that is of course pre-independence India, 1947, which and the Punjab I am referring to included Punjab in India and Punjab in Pakistan. So that was a very big province, and it was irrigated by these five rivers of Punjab, and it was considered as a very fertile area. So Ahmad Shah Abdali, he was desirous, he was having a desire that this Punjab should be annexed to his empire, because Afghanistan is a relatively barren land, and it is from Punjab that he will be able to get revenue as well as food and all those agricultural produce that is required to run the empire. So he once he settled down at Afghanistan, he always looked at Punjab to annex it to his empire, and he invaded India. But in 1748, near Sirhind, he was defeated by the Mughal army, Imperial Mughal army, and this is considered as the Mughal were rapidly declining, but this is considered as the last important battle that was won by the Imperial army. Now, Ahmad Shah Abdali, though he goes back, now in Delhi, we should get a little bit familiar with the politics that is happening at Delhi. As the Mughal Empire became weak, there arose different factions who tried to control the Mughal Emperor, and one of the faction was these Pathans. Pathans, in fact, they came to India from the border that is Atak, that is border between present day Pakistan and Afghanistan, as well as from Afghanistan. So they came to India. They served under the Indian ruler, and they before Mughal, they were also ruler of Delhi. For example, uh, Babur, Sikandar Lodi. Lodi dynasty was Pathan dynasty, and this Pathan, they dreamed that as the Mughal Empire is tottering to its fall now, we can replace the Mughal Empire, who are basically Turk. They're called Mongols because Babur descended from his mother's side from Mongol, and his father was in fact Turk. So this Turkish dynasty, or generally known as Mughal in India, we will replace them and we will re-establish the Pathan dynasty. So they were dreaming about that, and so they tried to increase their influence, and they tried to control the empire. And there was this Wazir Safdarjung. He was they had a kind of enmity with Pathan, because Pathan were Orthodox Sunni Muslims, and this Safdarjung was Shia. So Shia and Sunni, they traditionally have some conflict among themselves, and as well as it is now being intensified with the desire of controlling the empire. So Pathan on the one side and this Wazir on the other side, they tried to increase their influence, and that led to conflict between Wazir and Pathan. So this Wazir, he took the help of the Marathas. As the Marathas were expanding northward, so Wazir Safdarjung, he took the help of Marathas and he waged war against Pathan. So Pathan, they had their area in the that is Shukratal and surrounding area, that is the lower part of Himalayas, which is in fact the part of Doab. Doab is a very big region, comprising of the all that fertile tract, irrigated by Ganga and Yamuna, and the area between these two. So this Pathan's area was invaded by Wazir Safdarjung, supported by Marathas, and in that war, the Pathans were mercilessly defeated. In that war, nearly 10,000 Pathans were killed, and in this war, Dattaji Scindia, one of the Shinde noble, he distinguished himself for his bravery, and we see that the enmity between Shinde family and this Pathan, it continued later on also. So this, but though these Pathans were defeated, and Wazir Safdarjung, he established his control with the help of the Marathas. These Pathan, they considered themselves as brothers of Ahmad Shah Abdali, the ruler of Afghan, and they communicated with Ahmad Shah Abdali that you please come invade, and you rescue us from the clutches of these Marathas, supported by the Wazir. And during this period, the Pathan, they got a very capable and equally cunning leader, Najib Udola. And this Najib Udola and his enmity with Shinde family, and with other Marathas, it has proved very disastrous for the Maratha. In fact, he was the instrumental. He was the person instrumental for this third battle of Panipat fought between Ahmad Shah Abdali and the Marathas. Now, as Najibullah, he wrote letters to Ahmad Shah Abdali, and apprise him of the situation in Delhi, apprise him of the political situation that is happening in India, the northern part of India. Abdali again invaded in to India in 1751-52, and he captures Lahore and Multan. Now, Wazir was just finishing his war with the Pathan. He had his Maratha supporters with him, and he was at Lucknow. Here, as Abdali invaded Lahore and he captured Lahore and Multan both, the emperor, he got frightened. He thought that if Ahmad Shah Abdali march from Punjab to Delhi, it will be disastrous for me, as he had no adequate army, no well-trained army to fight against the one of the most capable general of his time, that is Ahmad Shah Abdali. So he immediately wrote to Wazir, who was at Lucknow, and asked him that you should immediately come to Delhi with the help and take the Marathas who supported you in this war against Pathan. You should come to Delhi. Now, at Lucknow, when Wazir receives this letter, definitely Marathas are not going to help Wazir or Mughal emperor just out of compassion or just out of charity. Definitely, there has to be some kind of political gain. So he signs a treaty with the Marathas, and according to this treaty, the Marathas, they take the responsibility of the protection of the Mughal emperor, and in lieu of that, they will continue to get 50 lakh rupees. They will get 50 lakh rupees, and the Jagir for Peshwa is also promised. Now, this agreement is signed by Wazir Safdarjung on the behalf of the emperor. Emperor himself did not sign uh, this agreement or this trust. Now, Safdarjung, he took little bit of time, and meanwhile, what happened is, as Lahore and Multan was captured, the representative of Ahmad Shah Abdali comes to Delhi and says, okay, you have to cede Punjab to me, to Punjab to Ahmad Shah Abdali, otherwise we will invade Delhi. And Emperor, he has seen that the Wazir is getting delayed at Lucknow. Maratha forces are not had came to Delhi, and if Ahmad Shah Abdali marches to Delhi, probably that will be end of my empire. So he agrees to cede the part of Punjab, that is Lahore and Multan, to Ahmad Shah Abdali. And meanwhile, Wazir, he reaches to Delhi along with these two Maratha commander, that is Scindia and Holkar. And meanwhile, Lahore and Multan was promised to Abdali by Mughal emperor, and Abdali goes back. Now, as Abdali goes back, Lahore and Multan was already promised to him. Emperor, he refused to sign the treaty that is agreed by Safdarjung, and this again creates complications. But nevertheless, somehow the situation was saved. The Marathas, they goes back after they get some money, and but now Emperor himself was quite afraid of Wazir Safdarjung, because Wazir was quite capable, and Emperor and his mother Udham Bai and one more person, they conspired against Safdarjung, and Safdarjung also, he retaliated, and there was a war between emperor on the one side and Wazir Safdarjung on the other side. And emperor, he writes to Peshwa that you send Maratha contingent. He calls Marathas for the help, but before the Marathas reaches to Delhi, Wazir was defeated and he was dismissed from his post. Safdarjung, that is. So you have the history that Safdarjung, he had earlier cooperated with the Marathas in his war against the Pathan, and after this Safdarjung, the death of Safdarjung, his son Suja Udola becomes the Nawab of Audh. That Audh was Lucknow and Ayodhya and all that region, which is Uttar Pradesh now. That was the Jagir of Safdarjung, and as Safdarjung dies, his son become governor there. Name is Suja Udola, and this Suja Udola also played an important role later on during this battle of Panipat. Now, when the emperor was having conflict with Wazir Safdarjung, there was a person named Ghazuddin Imad ul Mulk. he was very active but equally ambitious and unscrupulous. He had no sense of moral values. This person he helped the emperor, and this person Gazuddin he developed friendship with the Marathas, especially Mallarrao Holkar, one of the important cavalry commander of the Marathas. And with the support of these Marathas, Gazuddin he becomes wazir, and he removes the Emperor Ahmad Shah. In the court itself, he says that Ahmad Shah is not capable, and he makes Alamgir II as an emperor. And later on, we see this Alamgir II, who was made emperor by Gazuddin, is also murdered by Gazuddin himself. And later on, Ahmad Shah was blinded, and later on he was murdered along with his mother Udham Bai. So Gazuddin he promised that I will pay 82 lakh rupees to Marathas for their support. But this has tarnished the image of the Marathas in northern Indian politics. The people started believing that Marathas are having no scruples, no moral values. They will support anybody who is ready to pay them money. And this person support of Marathas to Gazuddin was also not. Was not a good support, because he was a person devoid of any moral values. Now, Alamgir too, as he was under the obligation of Gazuddin and indirectly under the obligation of the Marathas, Alamgir he issued a farman that the right of collecting taxes at the Hindu pilgrimage center Kurukshetra and Gaya is given to the Marathas. And earlier it was under the control of the Muslims. So this also went against the Marathas. The Muslim population in the northern India, especially Nazib Khan, he started building up an atmosphere that now Islam is in danger. So these Maratha Hindus, they are appropriating more and more power. The areas or the pilgrimage center which was under the Muslim control for centuries together are now being given to them by the emperor. So that he utilized, and he had utilized all those things that he can use against the Marathas to raise the opinion of the people against the Marathas. Now in Delhi, what happened at this Gazuddin, who became wazir with the support of the Marathas, he started neglecting the royal family, and this led to even the starvation of the royal ladies. The women of the Mughal family, royal family, they were starving, and they approached Najib Khan. And Najib Khan he had meeting with these royal ladies, and now Gazuddin and his supporters Marathas, they were blamed that it's because of these royal ladies are suffering. And Najib Khan, he was of course looking for an opportunity to build up an atmosphere to the extent possible against the Marathas. So on the behalf of these ladies, Najib Khan he sent his brother to Ahmad Shah Abdali and requesting that you should invade India. See, this is what is happening. The Marathas, Hindus, they are becoming more prominent. Islam is in danger now. Royal family is being harassed. Royal ladies are being harassed. So that kind of pressure, and we see that Najib Khan does it repeatedly. Every now and then he sends his representative requesting Ahmad Shah Abdali to come to India. Now, Ahmad Shah Abdali, he sends his envy to Gazuddin so that he should get money. But Gazuddin does not pay any attention to him, and Abdali he invades India again. Punjab was captured again in 1756, and he marches towards Delhi after Punjab. And now there was a lot of panic in Delhi now. Abdali he captures Delhi in 1757, and Qutba is read on his name. That means he declares himself as an emperor, and now he unleashes a reign of terror in Delhi and surrounding area. There was a lot of looting, and there was a digging of the houses. Some people from Mughal side they joined him and showed him the houses where there is a probability of finding the wealth. So the houses were dug, and a lot of beautiful women were carried away by this Afghan. And then he sends his army to Mathura. He has to appeal to the emotion of the Orthodox Muslim. So at the same time, to the south of Delhi there is Mathura and Vrindavan, which are holy places of the Hindus, and holy festival of the Hindus when Hindus play color, that was being celebrated. He sends army, and at Vrindavan and Mathura and Gokul, large number of Hindus were massacred by this Afghan army. The bodies they were littered all around. That is how the description of the contemporary person describes that horror that is being perpetuated by Afghan army, and Nazib Khan Rohilla also contributed to this kind of massacre. Now Abdali's camp, cholera breaks out in Abdali's camp, so he comes back to Delhi, and he was not very interested in ruling over Delhi. So he reinstalled Alamgir II, that is the same person who was installed on the throne as Mughal emperor by Ghazuddin. Ghazuddin is made wazir again, and Nazibullah, who was constantly communicating with Ahmad Shah Abdali and who was Pathan, as a kind of brother. He was given the post of Mir Bakshi, and he marches back to Kabul. He starts in 1757, and it is believed that he nearly carried 12 crore rupees. And at the same time, all those beautiful women of royal family were forcibly carried away by Afghan. And this book, Govind Sakaram Sardesai, he described that those women, they raised such a heart-wrenching cry that now they will be deprived of their home and forcibly has to become somebody's wife, or even slave. Now, while going back, Abdali makes certain arrangement in Punjab. He stationed his son Taimur Shah at Lahore, and Jahan Khan to support him as an important commander at Lahore. And that is the arrangement he makes for protection of Punjab, and he returns to Kabul. Now, all this atmosphere was building up in northern India. Ahmad Shah Abdali was preparing for his march. It is not that the Marathas were not aware of it. Hingne was the person who was Maratha ambassador in the court of the emperor, and he sends urgent message to Pune and requests that until unless you send a very strong commander under the capable army, the North India and Delhi will be lost to the Marathas. We will not be having any influence that we have established in this Doab and surrounding Delhi. Now, Raghunath Rao Peshwa, Balaji Bajirao was Peshwa that time, Nana Sahib. He sends his brother Raghunath Rao in October 1756. Now you see 1756, it is the same time when Ahmad Shah Abdali starts from Kabul, and Raghunath Rao, he starts from Pune. And had he marched very swiftly, probably he could have met Ahmad Shah Abdali, and this massacre at Mathura and different places, and such a wanton destruction of life at Delhi, and such atrocities that Ahmad Shah Abdali has perpetuated on the population of Delhi could have been prevented. But this person, Raghunath Rao, he delayed coming to Delhi. He reaches Agra in 1757, and during the same time, when Ahmad Shah Abdali was attacking Mathura, he also sends later to the Surajmal Jat. He was the ruler of Bharatpur, that you should surrender, and the Jat did not surrender. He readies for the fight, and Ahmad Shah Abdali withdraws. So Ahmad Shah Abdali had Maratha came a bit earlier under Raghunath Rao and taken the cooperation of the king of Bharatpur. Probably their situation would have become much stronger, and Ahmad Shah Abdali may have to withdraw early, or there could have been a war. But this Raghunath Rao, he delayed coming to Delhi. He reaches Agra in May 1757, and in March itself, Ahmad Shah Abdali had left Delhi. So Ghazuddin, he welcomes Maratha, and Nazib Khan, who has cooperated with Ahmad Shah Abdali, the invader, is now arrested. Doab and Delhi is recaptured by the Marathas in August 1757. Now, Najib Khan was arrested, but Maratha cavalry commander Mallarrao Holkar, his role is very dubious, very suspicious in the whole affair, as we will be seeing subsequently. Mallarrao, surprisingly, Nazib Khan was an hereditary, very staunch enemy of Shinde, because Dattaji Shinde was instrumental, one of the leading noble who killed around 10,000 Pathan during this war between Wazir Safdarjung, supported by Marathas, and the Pathan. But Mallarrao Holkar, he accepts Najib Khan as his own son. He treats him as his own son, and he pleads to Raghunath Rao on the behalf of Najib Khan that Najib Khan should be released, and he should be allowed to stay in Doab, and he should be utilized to increase the influence of the Marathas. Let us make him an ally. And there are also certain indication that probably Mallarrao was bribed by Najib Khan. He was paid heavy bribe, but we are not sure as of now. And interestingly, as I told you, Najib Khan was a person who contributed to the huge destruction of the temples at Mathura, Vrindavan and Gokul, and to the massacre of the Hindu pilgrimage population. But he was allowed to go under the influence of Mallara Holkar. Raghunath Rao, who was now the supreme commander of that army in the northern India, allows him to go with the promise that he will not interfere in the politics of Delhi. And this has proved to be the grave mistake, because this Najib Khan was, brought ruin on the Marathas. This is over. Well, now as the Doab and Delhi was captured, Raghunath Rao, he settles the affairs at Delhi, and he marches towards Punjab with his Maratha army, along with Adina Beg. Adina Beg was a Mughal governor, and along with Mughal governor Kunjapura. Remember Kunjapura now, to the northern of, beyond Panipat, to the north of Delhi, around, I forgot the kilometers. Kunjapura and Sirhind was also captured in February March, and Taimur Shah, the son of Ahmad Shah Abdali, who was at Lahore was attacked by the Marathas, and Taimur Shah has to he evacuates Lahore and takes shelter in the Afghanistan. He goes to Afghanistan, and he was pursued by Marathas and Adina Beg, and large number of horses, elephants, the treasure that fell in the hands of the Marathas. And the Marathas, they took the fort of Attock. Attock is a region that is a border between present day Pakistan and Afghanistan. So Marathas army, they reached up to Attock. Attock was captured, and Marathas, they even now started dreaming of capturing Kabul and Kandahar. Now, this was a high watermark of the Maratha victory. But unfortunately, Marathas did not take adequate precaution of the protection of the border. They conquered all that area, and the line of defense now, you see, it extended too far. Pune to Attock is too far. You have to cross the present day Pakistan and reach to Afghanistan border. So it's very huge area that the Marathas are supposed to be responsible for protecting. And now, Tukoji Holkar and Sabaji Shinde, they were with Raghunath Rao, and they were asked to hold on to Punjab till the arrival of another very capable commander of his time, that is Dattaji Shinde, who was in South now, who was in Pune. Till the time Dattaji Shinde comes, Tukoji Holkar and Sabaji Shinde, they have to hold Punjab. That is how the arrangement was made by Raghunath Rao. And Raghunath Rao and Holkar, they turned to South in May 1758. So you see, within a year or so, they occupied a huge territory. And some Maratha Sardars, they appealed to Raghunath Rao that don't withdraw so quickly to Pune. It's very important that a very capable person like your Peshwa's brother, your word is having value. So it's better if you stay and make some permanent arrangement in Punjab. Otherwise, this border, it's very difficult to protect such a huge border. But Holkar, he convinced to Raghunath Rao that nothing of that sort is going to happen, and Raghunath Rao and Holkar, they both withdraw to South. And in fact, during that time, Ahmad Shah Abdali was entangled in his own problem in Afghanistan, and it seems that everything is quiet. There was no immediate threat from that side, and Raghunath Rao and Holkar, they both withdraw. And Nazib Khan, who was now pardoned by Marathas for cooperating with Ahmad Shah Abdali, he communicated to Holkar and to Raghunath Rao that everything is well, all is well. Maratha power is established and it's secure now. You can go back. But at the same time, when he was playing a kind of double dubious role. He was communicating with the Marathas on the one side that I am here as your representative in North India and everything is well, everything is quiet. At the same time, he was communicating with Abdali and requesting him that you should come and save us from these clutches of these Hindu Marathas. And Malla Rao, he continued to play the dubious role, continued to treat him as his own son. Now, Dattaji and Jankoji Scindia, they came to north now, and Dattaji, he posted Sabaji Shinde at Lahore. And Raghunath Rao, when he reaches to Pune, he communicates with the Peshwa that Mallara Holkar is a person who is sheltering this Najib Khan. And this was quite an alarming news for Peshwa. Peshwa, he immediately sends letter to Mallar Rao that you should immediately go to north and support Dattaji Shinde in the protection of Punjab and the protection of border. But Mallar Rao, he did not go to north immediately. On the other hand, he goes to Rajputana and tries to collect his chauth, the chauth, the tax that he was collecting from the Rajput rulers. And the indicators thus point out that probably Mallar Rao wanted that Shinde family should be ruined, because the Shinde and Holkar, they had a kind of enmity. Who will be the supreme leader in the north? That kind of problem was there. But nevertheless, we cannot say anything very conclusively. But Mallar Rao's total role, his support of Najib Khan, not going to support Dattaji Shinde at the right time. And you see this, as Mallar Rao did not go immediately in support of Dattaji Shinde in north, that led to the killing of Dattaji Shinde later on. We will be seeing that battle which happened before the main battle of Panipat, almost 10 months before the battle, 10 months or 1 year before the battle of Panipat. Well, now let us talk about a little bit of complication between Nazib Khan and Dattaji Shinde. Now, Dattaji Shinde, he was quite brave general, but he was not a very fine diplomat. As Nazib, he promised to Dattaji also, I will build a bridge for you so that the Maratha armies they can continue to get supplies. So it will be useful for you. Even you can cross the Maratha army can cross into the north. I'll build this bridge on Yamuna. And Dattaji, on his part, he believed that okay, I will make use of this fellow Nazib Khan to build the bridge on Yamuna, and later on, I'll just dismiss him, or I will not give any importance to him, or even required, I may just punish him. But here, diplomatically, Nazib Khan proved to be more clever than Dattaji, and in any case, Dattaji was given a huge tax by the Peshwa. He was responsible for maintaining Punjab, and Peshwa used to repeatedly ask him that you also invade to Bengal and take money from there, because there is a lot of debt. I am under a lot of debt. There is a lot of loan to be repaid. So you should. Bengal is a rich province. Take money from there. So Dattaji's energy was thinly spread out into the all direction. So Dattaji, he goes to Punjab, but he had other works to do. So he comes back to Delhi and start thinking about whether he should be crossing to Bengal and all. And this has proved to be quite disastrous. Such a huge area, and not sending capable generals, you cannot trust so much of responsibility on the shoulder of only one person. Now Nazib, he delayed this building of bridges, saying that there is a flood in the river across Yamuna and it's difficult. And meanwhile, he deluded Dattaji. He strengthened his position. He made coalition with other Pathan and small Pathan rulers of that region. And he also had coalition with Suja Udola. Suja Udola, the son of earlier was Sabdarjung, and Sabdarjung and Maratha, they were friends. Now Suja, he also did have friendly relation with the Marathas, no doubt about it. But Nazib Khan convinced him that if Marathas come from Delhi towards east, they will not only conquer my area, but they will conquer your area also. Lucknow will not be also there in your hand, first thing. And second point of difference between Suja Udola and Marathas was that Marathas were constantly demanding that Prayag and Kurukshetra was given, but Prayag and those important Hindu centers of pilgrimage, including Prayag, uh, that should be handed over to the Marathas. Now those centers and those area were ruled by the Muslim governor for centuries together, and Suja Udola thought on his part that if I hand over this to the Marathas, that will be the loss of prestige. Probably the whole of Muslim population, if not whole, significant number of Muslim population may turn against him. So Prayag and Banaras was demanded by the Marathas, and that Suja, he was not in a position to directly deny anything to Marathas, because Marathas were militarily superior. But he played a diplomatic role. He continued to evade that and delay those things. And as the Marathas, they started pressurizing him, he thought that it's better Najib is my friend. In fact, he was not willing to trust Najib. He knew that Najib is a very dubious character, very untrustworthy character. And in any case, there was an enmity between the Orthodox Sunni Najib and Shia Suja. But nevertheless, Najib managed to convince him. He was a person who was having a very sweet tongue, who could speak very sweetly when it is the time, and could become very cruel when it is required. So with Suja's, Suja, he also started helping Nazibullah so that the Marathas are not encroaching towards the easterly direction. Now, Dattaji, when he realized that Nazib Khan has played this dubious game, he was very furious, and he attacks Najib. Najib was surrounded in the Shukratal, but that Shukratal was an area which was very difficult to conquer, and Dattaji was not aware of the topography, the geographical position, and Najib took an advantage. He in those forts at Shukratal, he made his position very strong. He surrounded himself. He surrounded that fort with cannon, and it was very difficult for the Marathas to now go and attack. So that siege it continued for a very long period. And when that siege, the Marathas led by Dattaji Shinde, when he was engaged in that siege and fighting against Najib, Najib continued to engage Marathas, so that Marathas are remain engaged here. And what is happening in Punjab, they could not pay attention. And what was actually happening in Punjab was that Ahmad Shah Abdali was attacking Punjab area, but Dattaji was now entangled in the siege of Shukratal and fighting against Nazib Khan Rohila. Now, let us talk about what was Abdali doing. So, you understanding the background in which these Marathas got entangled into the warfare and politics of North. They supported Wazir against the war of Pathan, but Wazir's son Suja, he also joins this Pathan, and the Marathas are left fought almost alone when that the deadly battle of Panipat happened. Well, now, as the Marathas, they conquered Punjab, but before they could consolidate their position, Ahmad Shah Abdali, he prepared. He was free from his domestic trouble now, and he attacks. Peshawar was conquered in August 1759, and Jahan Khan, one of his commander, was sent to capture Lahore. It was Sabaji Shinde who was protecting Lahore, and Marathas led by Sabaji Shinde, they inflicted, crushing defeat on Jahan Khan. Jahan Khan was wounded. He has to run away from the battlefield, and he lost his son. Now, this Jahan Khan, after being defeated at Peshawar, goes back to Ahmad Shah Abdali, and Ahmad Shah Abdali is quite enraged now. He sees that one of his important commander is defeated by the Maratha, and with his full force he comes on Lahore. Now, Sabaji Shinde was not in a position to meet such a huge army. It is believed that Ahmad Shah Abdali came with 30,000 force from Afghanistan, and then after coming to India, he recruited furthermore. So when he fought Battle of Panipat in January 1761, he had 60,000 fighting force, in contrast to the 45,000 fighting forces of the Marathas. Well, Sabaji could not stand against Ahmad Shah Abdali, and he retreats. He retreats and comes to Shukratal now, and meets Dattaji Shinde. And at the same time, Maratha outposts, the Maratha guard posts, which were placed at the different places to protect the border. They were staying in the different small forts. All that were attacked by the Ahmad Shah Abdali's army. Many of them were killed, because this was a kind of sudden. Marathas were not prepared. Many of them were killed, and many of them ran away, and then they came and took shelter with Shukratal, and Punjab was now lost to Abdali. Now, even after Nemaji Shinde came to Dattaji and reported him the matter, Dattaji was, quite furious against Najib Khan, and he thought that I will finish Najib Khan first, and then I will go against Abdali. But he in this tussle, he almost wasted 1 month, and he could have realized the danger, that it is a huge army. Ahmad Shah Abdali is not a small person. He's coming with a huge army, and it would have been better that he should have come back early. But he wasted 1 month, and meanwhile, in this 1 month, Abdali, he strengthened his position, recruited further army, and he started his march towards Delhi. Now, Ghazuddin, he was, in alliance with Marathas, and he knew that Ahmad Shah Abdali is against me, and probably Alamgir too, who had already given earlier, not Alamgir too, but the earlier Mughal emperor had already given Punjab, Multan, and Lahore to Ahmad Shah Abdali. Probably Alamgir too will also join hands with Ahmad Shah Abdali, and probably I will be no more. I will be handed over to Ahmad Shah Abdali, and Ahmad Shah Abdali is going to definitely severely punish me. So this person, Ghazuddin, as he had no sense of morality, he murders the emperor along with a few more of his supporters, a few more family members of his family, and this happened in November 1759, and he makes Shah Jahan Sani as the emperor. Now, when this news reaches to Emperor Ahmad Shah Abdali, that Ghazuddin, supported by the Marathas, is killed the emperor. In fact, Marathas had no role in the murder of Alamgir too. But as Ghazuddin was supported by the Marathas, this has indirect Ahmad Shah Abdali, because in the last arrangement it was Alamgir too who was made emperor by Ahmad Shah Abdali, and this murder and the earlier report of the torture to the royal family. This has Indira Abdali, and he rapidly marches towards Delhi. And and when all this thing was happening in northern India, when there was such a pressure, such an army was being built up against Dattaji Shinde, Mallara Holkar, he continued to remain in Rajputana, taking tributes from the Rajput ruler, and did not rush to Delhi or to Shukratal or to Punjab in support of Dattaji Shinde. Well, now, when Dattaji Shinde got the news that Ahmad Shah Abdali is rapidly marching towards Delhi, he is forced to leave the siege of Shukratal and comes towards Delhi, so that Delhi can be protected. Because he was aware that when in 1756, when Ahmad Shah Abdali conquered Delhi, there was a massacre, looting, and dishonoring of women and forcibly carrying of large number of women. It is being stated that Ahmad Shah Abdali, he found out the information from the traitor that where are which lady is most beautiful in which family, and he forcibly carried those. So that kind of atrocities perpetrated by Ahmad Shah Abdali. And Dattaji Shinde, he being an important Maratha commander in the north, he thought that it is his responsibility. In any case, by the agreement with Wazir Safdarjung in 1752, Marathas have taken the responsibility of the protection of the Mughal emperor. So Dattaji broke his camp at Shukratal, and he prepared to stop Abdali from entering Delhi. And now as the siege of Shukratal was being released by Marathas, Najib Khan was free. He comes out and he joins hands with Ahmad Shah Abdali. This both the army joins together, and now Ahmad Shah Abdali's army becomes very strong. And as Dattaji comes towards Delhi, he comes to Delhi, take measure of protecting Delhi. He also assures to Ghazuddin that, oh, you will be safe, don't worry, but try to protect Delhi. And now the Ahmad Shah Abdali's army also reaches. So now there is only river Yamuna. On the one side there is Delhi, protected by the Marathas led by Dattaji Shinde, and on the other side there is the Ahmad Shah Abdali's army, also joined by the Rohilas and Pathan of India, led by Nazib Khan. And Dattaji thought that probably crossing river is pretty bad. Even some of the Maratha commanders, they advised to Dattaji Shinde that you please fall back, don't engage into with the huge army of Ahmad Shah Abdali till the time Holkar or other reinforcement comes. But Dattaji was not willing to leave Delhi to the mercy of this Pathan Ahmad Shah Abdali. And he was brave, but he somehow lacked prudence and diplomatic skill. And he thought that, okay, fine, I can at least prevent Ahmad Shah Abdali from entering Delhi. And he sent urgent message to Holkar, please rush back to Delhi. And there was a ford, a little bit of shallow area at a place called Barari Ghat, from where there was a possibility of this army of Ahmad Shah Abdali coming to Delhi. So this fort was guarded by Nemaji Shinde, but this fort was found out by Ahmad Shah Abdali's army and the Rohilas of Nazib Khan. And in that fort, in the river bed, when the river dries up, huge tall grass will grow. So this huge tall grass was so tall that even if the elephant walks through, you cannot see. So they took the Rohilas led by Nazib Khan, they took an advantage of that tall grass, and they marched through this fort. And when they were discovered by Sabaji Shinde, he engages with Rohila, tries to stop them, and sends urgent message to Dattaji. Dattaji, when he heard that Sabaji Shinde is hard pressed, without adequate preparation, without realizing how much army is marching, with few people, he rushes to that Barari Ghat, and there was a fighting. Dattaji Shinde goes, then his nephew Jankoji Shinde also joins him, and in that battle, Jankoji Shinde was injured. He was removed by his follower, but Dattaji Shinde was shot. And when he was shot, he was lying on the ground. Qutub Shah, who is considered as a guru of Nazib Khan used to consider him as guru. he goes to the Shinde, and it is being recorded in the Bakhar that this Qutub Khan, Qutub Shah, who was very proud of his victory now, as the Maratha army running away and Dattaji injured lying in front of him. If you remember, Dattaji was an instrumental in cutting down around 10,000 Pathans. One of the important role he played. So Shindes and Pathan, they had a kind of hereditary enemy, and this was a kind of victory for Qutub Shah to see Dattaji lying on the ground. And very arrogantly he asked to Dattaji, Q Patel, Dattaji was the Shindes was Patil, the Patil used to be the hereditary head of the village. So there is a small village, Chambar Gonde, probably near Pune, and the Shinde were the Patil, and they took pride in calling themselves as Patil, that is a village headman. So he asked to Qutub Shah, he asked to Dattaji, Q Patel or ladenge humse, and that is a very famous word in the Maratha history. Uh, and Dattaji, though he was dying, lying on the ground, he says very proudly, "Bachenge to aur bhi ladenge. If I survive, I'll fight again." And this angers Qutub Shah. He takes the sword and cut off the head of Dattaji. There were certain Maratha followers who were trying to save the situation, and they promised to Qutub Shah, "Don't kill him. We'll pay you a lot of money." But Qutub Shah did not listen. His head was cut and it was sent to Ahmad Shah Abdali. The Maratha loss was not very heavy. It was nearly 1,000 soldiers have died from the Maratha side. But this injury of Jankoji Shinde and fall of Dattaji Shinde, the Maratha lost the heart and they ran away. They ran away, and Abdali, now Delhi was unprotected by Maratha. Delhi was occupied by Ahmad Shah Abdali and defeated Marathas. They ran away to the place called Kotputli, that is in Jaipur state, and here they were joined by Mallar Rao Holkar. Now Abdali, though he occupied really, he was not willing to stay here in India for a very long period. And but it was Nazib Khan who requested him. Nazib Khan knew that if now the Marathas become supreme, probably they will take revenge on me. Now, as Holkar joined at Kotputli, Ahmad Shah Abdali strengthened his position in the north. And when Holkar tries to regain his position in the Doab, he was defeated by the army of Ahmad Shah Abdali in March 1760. So this death of Dattaji, which is known as the Battle of Barari Ghat, it happened in January 1760, just 1 year before the main battle of Panipat. And Holkar's defeat happens 2 months after that. And this news reaches to Peshwa now that one of his important commander is killed. Delhi is lost to Marathas. Punjab is lost to Marathas. Holkar, one of the important cavalry commander, is also defeated in the Doab. So what is to be done next? That is what is being deliberated. And finally, it was decided that Peshwa's cousin, Bhau Sahib, and his son will lead expedition to north. Raghunath Rao, who came to north earlier, and Maratha forces went up to attack. But during this whole expedition of Raghunath Rao in 1756-57, he incurred huge debt. He did not could not arrange money from the northern place, as well as he was not able to resolve the differences between Shindes and Holkar. Neither he was able to make some permanent subjugation of Najib Khan, and this Najib Khan has proved quite troublesome. So now it was decided that Bhau Sahib, who was known to be very capable person, very strict, very high moral standard, and he had proved himself in the battle of Udgir against Nizam. Just when this news has reached, the battle of Udgir was being fought, and where Bhau Sahib has come out successfully. So Bhau Sahib was made the commander, but at the same time there was a fear that Bhau Sahib should not become too important. So Nana Sahib also sent his son, that is Vishwas Rao, who was 17 years old, and he was groomed as the next Peshwa, so that the Peshwa he should get an experience of the actual war. So that was the situation so far. So we have studied since beginning how the Marathas got entangled in the north, how Punjab was desired by Ahmad Shah Abdali, how in the war between Pathan and Wazir, the Wazir was supported by the Marathas, and how the Pathan and Shindes, they become hereditary enemy. And later on, as Raghunath Rao did not take adequate precaution for the protection of Punjab, Dattaji Shinde comes. He tries, but he was interested with a lot of responsibility. So at Punjab, he keeps certain forces, but withdraws to Doab. At Doab, he is now occupied in the siege of Shukratal against Najib Khan, and Abdali, without giving much time for the Marathas to consolidate their position, marches into Punjab. The Maratha contingent at Lahore was defeated. They falls back on Shukratal. From Shukratal, later on, Dattaji Shinde comes to Delhi, tries to protect Abdali's army and Rohilas at Barari Ghat. He was killed at Barari Ghat, and the Maratha army runs away. Delhi is occupied by Ahmad Shah Abdali. In March, Mallara Holkar is also defeated. When the news reached to south, to Peshwa, Bhau Sahib and Vishwas Rao, they were appointed to lead the Maratha army towards north and rescue Delhi. So this is where I am planning to stop today. If you are having any doubt, you can ask me.